And then you have people that complain sometimes, oh, sometimes you do clickbait and I don't like that. And I'm like, look, you try producing content for 500 weeks straight. Sometimes you just have to entertain yourself in the process, right? Almost every senior developer I've ever met wants to learn more.
Yeah. Amen.
I asked my students, like, who here is working on something where if your code goes wrong, bad things happen, right? Are you working on like medical devices? That's really bad. Are you working on like rocket control systems? I mean, this is what C++ programmers do. We do these things.
Any episodes out there that is the highlight of your career when you stand there and at heaven's door or whatever you believe in and welcome to The Curious Developer. I'm Jesper Pedersen from KDAB and I am super excited and honored to have Jason Turner with me today, who is most famous for giving name to an ISO standard. Jason, over to the jingle. Okay, admittedly, Jason is also known for some YouTube channel called C++ something. How many episodes have you out now?
I am 1 week away from episode 500 airing next Monday.
That's 500 weeks. So
500 weeks straight.
Do they come out regularly every week or is
at 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time in the United States on Monday morning is when a new episode is released. I've released one episode that was not on a Monday.
So Sunday evening, that's your stress time where it's like, oh, I need to find something for tomorrow morning.
If that happens, then something went wrong. I've actually told regulars, like, if you see an episode that doesn't air at 9:30, you know something did not go according to plan today.
Call the police.
I wouldn't say that, but something didn't go according to plan. But I mean, sometimes, depending on my travel schedule, I might actually record and edit and produce videos 2 months out, depending on what needs to happen, yeah.
Right. So how long does it take to record a video?
Oh, that's a tricky question.
Tricky, but not trick. That's the difference.
It's not a trick question, no. I have a GitHub repository. That is my official GitHub repository for the channel. Yeah. With an issue tracker where people can submit ideas, right? So there's currently a backlog of over 200 ideas on there. Mm-hmm. Each one of those ideas is in various states of development. It might have zero effort applied to it, or maybe I've already spent an hour researching that topic and put together a code sample that would be fitting for the episode. Then I actually go and record the episode. And I tend, like, it might be obvious to some viewers, I tend to record these things as like stream of consciousness almost. Like I have a plan, but I don't have a script, right? So sometimes the actual recording process for a 5-minute video might be as long as like an hour if I really don't have a well-established plan, right? And sometimes I'll record the whole thing and just go, and I'll start over, right? So that's, if I'm lucky, then the 5-minute episode takes 8 minutes to record because I had a good plan and I was able to execute that good plan. But then the editing process is its own thing. I try to clean everything up, normalize the audio. My wife does the transcriptions, actually. She's my, make sure, for those of you who watch this later, if you appreciate the very high quality transcriptions that are on there, it's because she goes through and makes sure like all of the, like, if I have the name of an identifier, that the casing and the underscores and everything are actually like correct, something that an auto transcriber just simply can't do reliably.
But the audio translators are more fun though. I mean, on our channel, we are talking about Qt, which is pronounced cute. Yes. And I am the cute widget guy. So in one of the episodes, it translated to, I have seen many cute widgets.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
No.
I keep telling my wife she needs to give a lightning talk at an upcoming conference that is all of the ridiculous things that she's seen. Because we start with the auto translation, then she fixes it. All the ridiculous things that she's seen in there.
500 episodes.
500 episodes. 500 weeks straight.
And for the viewers out there, right up here is a link to his GitHub where you can add your own ideas for episodes. But
that's amazing.
Yeah,
how did you do that?
I installed it up there.
That's amazing.
But still, how do you? I mean, I guess you're not just going from the first suggestion or the one with the most votes, or what? How do you choose?
I do let people vote, and I will sort by votes. So I mean, vote as in thumbs up or thumbs down on a GitHub issue, and then in the issue tracker I sort based on that. Yeah. And then that's going to be filtered based off of my whim at the moment, the last thing I heard at a conference, the thing that I think is important to share right now, or sometimes honestly just the thing that I think I can do right now, right? Because I have to have an episode every week.
Right.
And then you have people that have complained sometimes, oh, sometimes you do clickbait and I don't like that. And I'm like, look, you try producing content for 500 weeks straight. Sometimes you just have to entertain yourself in the process, right?
Yeah, yeah. I can totally relate to that. I have this list of things that I want to do for our YouTube channels too. And important, fun. That's the one I'm going to do this week. Yes, not that I put out every week, but hey, nevertheless, that's an achievement. So that of course brings the question of, if I was now, one of our viewers, never heard of C++ Weekly before, how unrealistic that would be, nevertheless.
It happens still.
Where would they start? Would they start at episode number 1 or episode number 500 minus 1 and then go backwards? Or how well do your episode age?
I would probably... So episode 1 is the second most viewed episode, I believe, that I have.
Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of C++ Weekly. I'm your host, Jason Turner. Once a week, we'll pick some topic of interest in C++ and dig into it with some live coding.
I think my now outdated episode on CMake is the most viewed episode, which is like, the title of the episode is Don't Watch This Episode, right? Because I don't want to remove it because it's good for the channel, but on the other hand, I have a more up-to-date episode on that, right? So then people find the channel and then they go to episode 1 and it has many views, and it's not good.
Right.
You just watched it, right? I believe we discussed it. It's whatever. I don't even remember. Oh, I was doing ChiScript refactoring at the time, which is one of my side projects. I didn't know what I was doing, right?
Right.
So skip the first 10. It's fine. Yeah. Like, don't watch the first one, say, what the heck is this about? And then stop watching the channel. Don't do that.
Maybe that's why your second second episode doesn't have so many. It's like,
yes,
don't.
I'm assuming that's the case. I need to make episode 0. It's actually been on my to-do list for like 3 years to make episode 0 so that people would go to that one first, where I explain to skip the next episode. But I can't remove it, right? You can't. I mean, I could, but there's nothing like incriminating in it or anything like that. Right. So I don't know. I would say skip the first 10 if you really want to watch the backlog. Otherwise, maybe you just, I mean, it's a database of information at this point. It's very difficult to find a topic that I have not talked about. To the point that I have, I believe, 28 episodes on ConstExpr specifically, and the way the language has evolved.
And a t-shirt, mind you.
Well, yes, ConstExpr, yes. Available in my swag store. And something like 34 episodes on lambdas. So maybe that's what you do. Maybe you go to the playlists and you're like, I want to watch all the episodes on lambdas, which is its own crazy thing because every time the language evolves, lambdas evolve to match the language. So if you know everything about lambdas, you know most of the core language.
But you don't spend time going back in the episodes and just updating the description saying, yeah, this was the cool thing in C++ 14, C++ 23 has, if you are in there, just ignore this episode.
No, because it's still information that matters, right? Like, there's still teams out there that are using C++ 14. There's still teams that are using 17. I'm currently producing episodes, or have produced episodes, on 23 and 26 features. The number of viewers who can actually use those 26 features is nothing, right? So in a way, I'm almost producing for the future. So it's possible that the average C++ user actually needs to be maybe 100 episodes behind. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
because that's the sweet spot. Like, oh yeah, okay, we just upgraded to 17. I mean, teams are still telling me that, right? We're getting ready to upgrade to 17, or we're getting ready to upgrade to 20. Well, I've got good news for you. I've got a playlist of C++ 20 episodes that you can go watch, right?
Right. And then on top of it, you'll be looking 2 years younger too.
Yes. Well, I don't actually physically appear in most of the videos.
That's true. That's true. And that's curious. I mean, why is that?
Why don't I appear in the episodes? Well, a friend told me it wasn't necessary, and then I looked at my editing process and I said, you know what, you're right. It's more difficult to edit when there's my face in the video too. It's just not, the code is what I'm talking about, right?
And you do live coding in the episode.
Oh yeah.
I sometimes like pause just to see the errors that you make.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, that is part of being human. It's like, didn't get that semicolon in there either. It's like, why do we need? But why are you not just preparing the code up front? And
in the very rare episode, I'll say something along the lines of like, I'm going to flip over to this already prepared thing. But I do like being human in the episodes, right? Yeah. So I'll edit out occasionally like really bad mistakes where I like wrote 2 lines of code and then realized this is not where I wanted to go at all. And then I delete that, right? And then in the editing process, I just cut that bit in between those.
The cursor just stand there blinking for 5 minutes like, what am I doing here? You can speed that up, of course.
Oh yeah, and I will do that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I have an exact plan. I'm typing, I'm doing the thing. And the code doesn't compile. And I'm like, what? And then I'm flipping over to CVP reference. I'm looking at the standard. I'm looking at my code samples. And I have 20 minutes of like me accomplishing nothing. Oh, that absolutely gets edited out, just so you know. Yes, I don't show all that. Besides, all of the like context tab, alt tab switching and stuff, and it's just a little bit of like, privacy minded too. I don't want everyone to know all the programs that I happen to have open at the moment. Yeah, whatever. Not like it's a big deal, but. Yeah.
Any episodes out there that you really is the highlight of your career when you stand there and at heaven's door or whatever you believe in, and the creator says to you, so what is your accomplishment here in life? You'll take that one episode out and say, hey, I did that one.
Well, it's unlikely that I would mention C++ Weekly at
all. Oh, really?
If that's where this is going to go. But the most career-changing episode I had was one that I did called C++ 17 for the Commodore 64.
Okay.
That one caused a cascade of things that happened in my career, basically. Okay. Have you seen this one by any chance? No. Herb Sutter saw the episode, or someone who works for him saw the episode anyhow, and he thought, this is great, you can write C++ for these tiny 8-bit microcomputers. For your viewers here, the Commodore 64 is a computer that was, first released in 1982?
You weren't even born back then.
Oh, I was born, yes. It was a computer that I grew up with.
Me too.
So Herb was like, this is interesting, and he invited me to give a keynote at CVPCon. Okay. And I did, and that episode plus the visibility that gave me on the main stage at CVPCon just changed a lot of my career after that. It made it more viable for me to become a trainer, which is how I make my money, really. It was interesting. But is that one significant? It's significant in a way, but I personally care much more about the things that, and I can't give you a specific episode number or anything, but the things that like guide C++ programmers towards writing safer code, basically, better code. And that's what I focus on. If anyone wants to hire me for training, I focus on like C++ best practices is what I do. And it's because like this stuff matters. Like I just offered a 2-day workshop, C++ best practices here at TechTown. I assume your viewers are going to know that's where we are. It doesn't matter.
That's where we are.
That's where we are. We are
in Norway. Beautiful. You cannot see the mountains from out of our view, but it's pretty beautiful here.
It's beautiful from this view.
In Kongsberg, even.
Kongsberg.
In the Seatech town.
You can see the waterfall, and you can see the church right across the hills.
He can see the waterfall and the church. Sorry, you can't.
Right. No, you can't see it.
Can we just cut in a waterfall view here?
Yeah, you should. All right, great.
You gave a workshop.
We have a workshop, C++ best practices, and I asked my students, like, who here is working on something where if your code goes wrong, bad things happen, right? High frequency traders. That makes news, right? There was a flash crash a few years ago because of an HFT that did a bunch of trades they didn't intend to do. You do something where you're controlling like physical devices, servo control, motor systems control, something like that. Well, if that device doesn't do what you intended to do, that's bad, right? You're working on like medical devices, that's really bad. You're working on like rocket control systems. I mean, this is what C++ programmers do. We do these things, right? I mean, every now and then you have, sure, one of my students works on like an office suite or something like that. And you're like, well, if it crashes, then people are angry with you. That doesn't cause a vehicle to crash, right? But just a lot, like let's do this better, right? Let's do it better. And so I think the episodes where I focus on like, here's a better way to do things, those are the ones I think perhaps they're the most important ones anyhow. Certainly not every episode though, because, well, then I'd be giving away all my training material.
But isn't that a bit in contradiction to C++ Weekly? I mean, when I sit there at C++ Weekly, it's like tiny little detail here. Here's how you can abuse the, I watched one on const expression recently where you did not expect that you could do that when it wasn't const expression because, and then...
Oh yeah, stupid const expert tricks perhaps?
So I was just, why is that even important for me? Shouldn't I be, rather than watching your channel, sorry, but shouldn't I be going and talk to Klaus Egelberger, who I talked to very recently, who is like all up here and is more into let's get the design correct and so on. Isn't that the important thing?
Const expert allows me to execute code at compile time.
All
right. If that code is executed at compile time, there's no runtime component left over. There's no undefined behavior. There's no design to even care about. I built the data table at compile time. I can now use that data table at runtime. So a lot of things almost become irrelevant if I can move more work to compile time. And then you also have the bonus feature that with const expr, if you do constant evaluation, if you do compile time evaluation of a const expr function, that function's not allowed to have undefined behavior in it. So you learn at compile time. The code fails to compile if it has undefined behavior in it. So if I can convince more people to use const expr and show them the power of this, and then also say, okay, now, even if you're going to use that function at runtime, I want you to also test that function at compile time, they get stronger and stronger guarantees about the correctness of their code. That's why it matters. It's like extra levels of static analysis. It would almost be like saying, I did outstanding object-oriented design, therefore I don't need to use static analyzers. No, that's not how this works, right?
Fair point. So
I'm focusing on like core understanding of the language. How do we make the code, the actual C++ better? Klaus is, I mean, I'm not an expert in software design. And yes, they should use good software design. But what does their implementation look like? So let's...
And obviously you didn't hear the interview that I did.
An hour ago?
Future,
yes. No, I didn't
So I did with Klaus and we came to the agreement that it's important both lands. Right. It's important to, I mean, if you don't have good designs, you cannot fix it with smart const expert tricks. But on the other hand, if you have no idea what your compiler does, then game over, player one anyway.
And that was just, if you do have a terrible design, but 100% of your code runs at compile time, the design is irrelevant. So, I mean, it can go both ways, but that's unlikely, right?
I was just about to say, my user interfaces is likely not going to be...
It's unlikely. It's highly unlikely that you can evaluate 100% of your program at compile time.
So a lot of people out there are proficient with C++ in their daily work. They sit there with their 10 million lines of code, huge code base, and they get inspired from what all their coworkers are doing in their code, and they're like, I can do that too. Unfortunately, that code base is like 20, 30 years old, so they get inspired by the wrong thing. Of course, they can watch your C++ Weekly and learn about the better thing. But what percentage would you say that anybody who is working with C++ that they should be spending on learning better ways of doing things?
That's a difficult question for me to answer. I haven't had like a regular job in 15 years now. So I don't even know like what is tolerated in most teams. I would say you should work for an organization that cares about education, that sends you to conferences, hires in trainers, that kind of thing, and gives you the freedom and the flexibility and the time and the money and everything else to learn new things, because that'd be a terrible shame not to. But a lot of the higher level library routines and constructs that we have, I mean, you write so much less code, and every line of code you don't write is a line of code you don't have to maintain. It's cheaper, right? And they're safer. Most of the time, the new things that are being added are safer. I have exercises that I run through with students. I was just thinking about this earlier today, where if you've got like, say you want to, I don't know, iterate over all of the key value pairs in a map, but skip the first. Maybe, I don't know, or a vector or whatever. Take your thing. You're decomposing a CSV-like thing. You want to skip the header row, and you want to process the data, right? That's not an uncommon thing to do. I've written code like this often, where I'm like, okay, if the size of the thing is greater than 0, then do my loop, right? Because I have to skip the first element. Because if the size of the thing is 0, and I try to skip the first element, my program has undefined behavior because you're using C++, right? That's like, and so it's an interesting exercise to take the like modern version where it's like say a ranged for with a structured binding of the elements that you care about over the map piped through drop 1, and then you have the body of your loop and you do whatever with it. And take that and be like, okay, now what would this code, which you definitely could have done in C++ 98, what would it have looked like back then? Today it's 3 lines of code. Back then it's like this much code with a couple of safety checks around it to make sure that you don't accidentally invoke undefined behavior. So I guess what I'm getting at is I think it's important, and I'm reluctant to, like, you should follow the standards that are in your code base. But if the team is moving to 23, use the 23 features that are there that make your code more concise, safer.
But don't we have I envision the opposite problem. So just imagine an elderly gentleman, like 55 years old, way older than me. I'm only 54.
Yeah.
An elderly gentleman, upper in management and whatnot, and he brings in a new intern. And then there's all these similar old people in the organization. It's like, that intern, he writes code that we don't even understand because he just came out of university and just want to show off that he can do algorithm and decomposition of struct and whatnot, and we don't even understand it. What would you say to that elderly gentleman, the manager? I mean,
so I actually had this specific situation come up with students. They hired me in. We're moving to C++ 20. I'm like, great, let's talk about the features that you can use. They hired me for this, right? And I showed an example, and they're like, you've gone too far. We can't do this. We can't. And it was structured binding. It was literally structured bindings over a map. You've gone too far.
Okay.
And I said,
but it's an uphill battle.
And they're just like, nope, we've gone too far. And this was in 2024. This was last year. Okay. And I'm like, just to verify, so I always ask my students, what other programming languages do you program in? And 99.5% of C++ programmers say Python.
Right.
That's the other language they program in.
Yeah.
And so I said, but this looks exactly like Python.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, no. And I'm like, but you told me you program in Python. This looks exactly like Python. This is very readable. I've got the structured binding over the pairs of, right? And they said, their argument was literally the exact opposite of what you just said. They said, we could never hire a new person who could read this code. And I said, well, I said to them at the time, like, compilers have supported this feature for like 8 years.
Right.
And you're all Python programmers. Like I didn't have like a solid answer for them. They asked me to teach them the stuff, and then they told me that they couldn't read it, or that they couldn't hire someone who could read it. But it was interesting. That's the main pushback I've gotten. It's not the old people themselves saying, I can't read this code. Almost every senior developer I've ever met wants to learn more.
Yeah. Amen.
I've never met one who said, I'm sorry, I'm checking out here. They retire at that point, right? Yeah. Some of the most impressive people I met were like, I don't know, 70 years old. They'd been at the same company for like almost 50 years or something. 45 years. And like, without giving away too many details, one particular guy that I had in a class, he started as an analog hardware engineer and is now working on their most advanced C++ projects, moving to like C++ 23. Right? That's the senior developers that I've had the chance to interact with. I do still find it fascinating. They said that they couldn't hire a junior that could read that code. Because I'm like, it's Python. It looks exactly like the Python version, except there's a colon instead of the keyword in, you know? Yeah. Anyhow, I'm sorry. I'll stop my rant about that.
No, it's okay. So, but I mean, we all have limited amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's figured out to get that 25th hour into the day.
Yeah, my job is learning the new things, right? And then figuring out how to distill them for other people.
But my question is, if I sit there now, not me personally, of course.
Of course, you know all these things, yes.
One of my viewers is sitting there and saying, I really want to learn something cool and new in C++. And I mean, personally, I'm pretty decent up to C++ 17. Then I have the occasional thing in 20, 23, and even 26. But then it's always like, and then there's much...
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
None of the compilers really support modules yet anyhow, so you can just ignore modules.
But if you were to give, on a final note here, our viewers 3 things they should be looking into, that is in, say, 20, 23, 26, that is like a good thing to really be good at.
To be good at coming in 2023?
To learn, I mean... that you've seen people, you don't know that. You really should.
Things that come up in class? Well, first of all, people should know that theoretically in 23, we have import for the standard library. And that should speed up our build times for like all of our code, even if you don't use modules in the rest of your code. Okay. However, none of the compilers fully support that yet. So you can't actually use it. But it's coming, theoretically, someday, soon. Every version of the language, I can't give you 3 things, I'm just going to keep talking. Every version of the language keeps making const expert more and more capable. Conversation that I just had with my students are like what functions should be const expert? And I'm like, at this point, if it's in a header file, just make it const expert. Maybe it doesn't compile today in a const expert use case in C++ 20, but as soon as you flip that switch to 23, it's going to work. So just remove that extra concern right now.
I'll just help you there. You had a presentation where you tried to get people to sprinkle const expert.
I got the audience playing along with that one.
When are we going to see const expert not in the language anymore? I mean, why do I need to write const expert?
Oh, that's a longer conversation. I'm not a member of the standards committee, but from what I understand, the standards committee is never going to do that. So we'll just unless
I will ask Hannah about that.
Yeah, yes. Yes, ask Hannah about that. Yeah. Anyhow, I would say knowing how to judiciously use range views, range adapters, ranged algorithms, the views, the filters, those things, like know when they help and when they hurt code, know what's available, and sometimes just something like in 23, we get zip. And zip exists in like every other language with lists of things, and now we finally have it in C++ 23. Yeah. If you don't know what zip is good for, learn what zip is good for. Learn how it can simplify your code. For example, like just that's probably the biggest part of the library that I want people to get more info on.
And if you're sitting there saying, 23, even 20 I can't do, then let me just do an advertise for a hobby project that I did, which is KDAB algorithms, which is at least a starting point for getting into the algorithms of things. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.